much. There's nothing in the data that would support a pumping rate of 7 million gallons a month. Another issue that's a significant concern is that the AECOM report did not depict wetlands on the property. There is, based on GIS mapping available from the NJDEP, there are significant wetlands on and or about the property. This is the headwaters for Sucker Run. Some of the excavations appear to extend either into or very close to wetlands, and they could have an adverse impact. I'm going to expedite this because I see the yellow light's already on. The application, thank you. The next issue is the fact that the application is asking for 6,830 gallons a minute. This is a number that has changed 3 times in the permit application phase. It was originally 90 million gallons a month, 90 million gallons a minute, excuse me, 90 gallons per minute. Then it was changed to 156 gallons per minute, and ultimately ended up at 6,830 gallons a minute based on pump capacities. Diversion pumping rates and diversion values should be established based on need. The need is shown in the AECOM report is that the maximum monthly diversion would be in the 3rd month of operations, and that would be about 2.7 million gallons. And in order to pump that and keep the trenches dewatered, the AECOM report suggested a pumping rate of 63 gallons per minute, not 6,830 gallons a minute would be appropriate.
Your time.
Okay. We are going to be submitting comments in writing to you, but the bottom line out of it is we think the adverse impacts to the wetlands, the adverse impacts to the pumping rates and everything else, there's no need for this permit to be approved as is.
Water allocation rules do require that the hearing contain a presentation from the applicant so that the full broad explanation of the project.
Mayor, please, just all speakers, remember not only to say your name, but to please spell it for our stenographer. And just before you start, I'd like to also call up the next 3 speakers, Mayor Jill Popko from Bordentown, Jim Kahn, Bordentown Township Committee, and Bill Harrison. Okay, and we'll start the time after you spell your name. Go ahead, Mayor.
It's Jeremy Liedtke, Liedtka. Okay, I'm the mayor presently. My comments are twofold tonight. As the mayor and personally. As the mayor, I'm gravely concerned with the wells of our private wells of the public residents. Many were not listed on the application. I just found out recently they had to be within a quarter of a mile, but many of them were hand-dug 35-foot wells. So I'm not sure if Transco is privy to this info, but it's out there. I think they should do an infield study on our public wells.
Yes.
Secondly, I am concerned for 2 Green Acre parks in close proximity to Transco's property. Less than 500 feet to the north, we have a park, Chesterfield Township does, that has wetlands, athletic fields, and also the new Turnpike Reforestation Project that the Turnpike paid grants to do this to. A lot of money was spent in these parks and don't want to see them go to the wayside. To the south, Bordentown Township has a park similar to ours, excluding athletic fields. The wells are top priority and Transco should do infield studies to see if they would be affected. Transco should have a plan in place if someone was affected. The residents should not bear the burden and worry something's going to go wrong with their wells. Transco should have the solutions in place before a problem arises. Now, personally, we are the immediate property owner to Transco, to the east. The stream that Matt Mulhall described runs in between our property. That's the property line. That was our playground as kids. We would go there fishing, catching frogs, and now it is my kids' playground. We are gravely worried about this stream and the dewatering, and we're just worried it's going to dry up, and the stream won't be there. I don't know how it cannot be affected by dewatering so close to that stream. I don't know how to mitigate that. Secondly, we're farmers also. We have a farm field right next door, within feet of where they're going to be dewatering. If they pull the groundwater down, the ground then dries. And with the compatibility of the silt and clay structure of our soils in this area, they're going to become compacted and hard. Any rain that is done on this land will now run off. It will not perk back into the ground. Any significant rain will then become runoff, and no effect, no recharge back into the farmland or the aquifer. With all the important concerns, I cannot see how this application can move forward without more studies and more data. There are major inconsistencies in the application as stated by our professionals, and there has not been enough time to do a significant study. This whole project has been rushed from FERC through to BPU. They've asked for accelerated time, and it just needs to slow down, and I hope you guys do the proper job, and please give us the time and the extension. Thank you.
Is Mary Jo Popcom here?
Thank you. This is a travesty. There is no reason, rhyme or reason, for this project to go through. But in particular, Jillpopko, Boardington Township. In particular, it seems that Transco has not done their proper due diligence in letting our town, Boardington Township, even know about this project. They never notified us. They have never come before us to let us know that we could go before FERC as interveners. In the meantime, now, what we have is a project that has been threatened to eminent domain on our property. It's green acres. There is wildlife and vernal pools in which they plan to dewater our property and take through eminent domain. This is an outrage. There's absolutely no reason for it. For one reason in particular, Penn East has not even gotten their approval. So what is going to feed this compressor station? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So we've got a huge compressor station with nothing going into it. This permit for dewatering, in which they have just stated here today, not expected to affect groundwater or wetlands, not expected to. Well, I expect a lot more than that. I have every expectation that the people will be drinking clean water here in this community. I have every expectation that wildlife will be preserved, in particular if it's endangered. And I have every expectation that the NJDEP will look through their rules and regulations at Section 401 of the Clean Water Act and make particular certain concern of what this company is going to be doing. I watched this raping of pristine land, and I just am appalled. As we all know, this is a travesty. Thank you.
Jim Cann, C-A-N-N, I'm a Bordentown Township Committeeman. I just want to state for the record, the township and its residents are unequivocally opposed to this project. And the Garden State Pipeline, it's not an economic necessity, it's not needed. We already know that the existing pipelines, if necessary, could provide 50% more gas than is needed by the residents of New Jersey. So there is absolutely no economic reason. The environmental impacts, not even discussing the public health issues that these types of facilities give rise to, it just means to me, as DEP environmental protection, you need to be slowing this down, you need to be taking a much harder look at this, and while you read statements from the Transco Williams reports, I think one of the things that I wanted to hear tonight is exactly what your investigation is going to involve. What are you going to be out to the land? Are you going to have geologists? Are you going to have hydrologists? Given the number of schools in proximity to this facility, given the number of private wells in this facility, given the number of homes near this facility, I think it's incumbent upon you and the wetlands, and we have parks, and as Mayor Lika properly stated, we have parks in this area. They want an easement from us. We don't want to give it to them because this is unnecessary. This is not needed. We don't need to be Pipeline USA. So I think that's a question you need to answer. It should have been part of your presentation is, what exactly are you going to do? Are you just going to review what they provided? Because what they provided to FERC was faulty, was incorrect. So if you're going to make your decision based on information that this group provided, it's a fool's errand. You're making your decision based on information that, in my opinion, is probably totally incorrect. This needs to be slowed down. This needs to be slowed down. This needs to be carefully reviewed. And Section 401 of the Freshwater Act needs to be reviewed by all of DEP and actually researched thoroughly before you give rise to this type of a monstrosity. Thank you very much.
Andrea Katz, and Jeff Till. Go ahead, sir.
Bill Harrison, Harrison, with Genova Burns. I'm the attorney for Bordentown Township. We want to join in Chesterfield's request that the comment period be extended. We will be submitting written comments detailing the environmental concerns here, but one matter, in the interest of keeping to the 3 minutes, I want to make the department aware of. One of the parcels involved in this application is owned by Bordentown Township. It is subject to Green Acres restrictions. Bordentown Township is precluded by law from authorizing any non-recreation conservation use of that land. That is what is being proposed here. I would argue that that Bordentown Township certainly has no intention of going through the procedures which require approval by both DEP and the State House Commission before any recreation and conservation lands can be diverted for that purpose. And without debating whether Transco has the ability to do that, no one has initiated those proceedings. And I would strongly argue that the Department of Environmental Protection is precluded from granting any approval that would authorize the diversion of dedicated parklands for non-park land use without DEP and the State House Commission having already approved that. And so this application should be put on hold unless and until The diversion is approved by DEP and the State House Commission.
Peggy Elliott?
Hello, I'm Peggy Hallion, Hallion. I am a member of the Chesterfield Elementary School Board of Education, and I welcome you to our beautiful school. I hope the temperature is comfortable. You are experiencing the results of our environmentally friendly geothermal heating and air conditioning system. As a preservation-friendly township, we pride ourselves on protecting the environment for the next generation by our actions, education, and example. As members of the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, I assume you feel the same. Our system has 200 wells drilled on our property. Each is approximately 100 feet. My questions are, how much water is going to be displaced? I saw the little presentation we had that didn't tell me anything. How is the dewatering going to affect the operation of our system, thus the operation of our school? Has anyone looked into this? What was the conclusion? Where is the written report so that the Board of Education can evaluate it? How low is that aquifer going to go? Second, what guarantee do we have that if something happens to our system, who is going to be held legally and financially responsible? This is our major concern to the Board of Education as well as to the parents and the residents of Chesterfield Township. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Katz, A-N-D-R-E-A-K-A-T-Z, and I am a board member here at Chesterfield Elementary School. And I'd like to echo some of the sentiments that were made earlier. This community, we do not want this project at all. And I think that is made loud and clear by how many people are in this room. They stopped what they were doing at 5 o'clock. That's hard, it's the middle of dinner time. We stopped what we were doing, we filled this room, we brought our kids. That should be made clear to you that we don't want this project. I am asking for your help in slowing this down and stopping this project altogether. I want to know from the DEP, is this going to be safe for my kids? I don't believe it is. I want you to show me that it is. I want to know what studies you are doing to prove that this is going to be safe for my family. I live about a half mile away from the compressor station. I want to know that when my kids go into my backyard, they are going to be safe. They are going to be kept healthy. I want to know what the impacts are going to be on the wildlife from the long-term dewatering. You can't tell me that there is going to be no impact on that wildlife. There is, and I want to know what those impacts are going to be. I'm a board member here of this beautiful school. We're a mile away from that compressor station. How are we supposed to evacuate our children if something happens to that compressor station? We don't have buses on site. What do we do? So I need you to tell me that we are going to be safe. And if we're not going to be safe, I need you to stop this project. Thank you.
And the next three people following Jeff, Agnes Marsala, Martha Vesela? I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. And Richard Bizub?
Thank you. Jeff Tittle, JEFF, TITTEL, Director, New Jersey Sierra Club. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned yesterday or on Friday on Earth Day, we filed suit against the Southern Reliability Link. Because we believe that the Board of Public Utilities violated their own law, as did the Executive Director of the Pinelands Commission, who ignored the law, ignored the commission, and ignored the public. And so the reason I'm mentioning is that you could end up permitting a substation for a pipeline that will never be built. You may also be building a substation for another pipeline that may never be built, because we've been fighting Penn East, and we got the DRBC to hold their own independent hearings, and that's going to hold that project up for about 2 years. But I'm here today because I want to talk about the Crosswicks double cross. This pipeline and this compressor station is unneeded, unnecessary, and dangerous. It's going to have significant impacts to groundwater, to streams, to vernal pools, and then you have to deal with the runoff issue. Not only the runoff from where all that water is going to go, enough water for a town the size of Crosswicks, every day getting discharged onto other people's property, picking up contaminants, who knows what. But then the stormwater impacts from this compressor station, the air pollution impacts from this compressor station. But more importantly, you're the Department of Environmental Protection, not the compartment. You cannot look at this in a vacuum. You have to look at the related impacts from the Southern Reliability Link cutting through the Pinelands and the impact to all those streams. You have to look at the environmental impacts from Penn East. But more importantly, you need to make sure that you look at the 401 permitting process, which needs to be cumulative, not just one little spot. It has to be the entire impact of this project and the connected projects to groundwater, to streams, to wetlands, to everything else. What we are concerned about is that this pipeline is just another example for Transco to try to bring gas from the Marcellus Shale region to market somewhere else that could end up being in Europe. And as we say, Transco gets the money, Europe can get the gas, and we get the pipe. And the point that I want to make is what I think critical is that Transco's record of 50 incidences at their compressor stations in the last 10 years, water and gas don't mix. Our governor may be following into the footsteps of being a fossil fuel, but your job is to protect the environment, to protect the people, protect this valley, this area. You're not Crosswicks or the Pinelands. Thank you.
My name is Agnes Marsala, Agnes Marsala, and I reside at 68 Old York Road, Chesterfield, New Jersey. I'm also the president of People Over Pipelines, a local organization. I've lived in the Boytown Chesterfield area my whole life, and while I recognize the need for economic growth, I'm saddened by some of these changes I've seen. And we are a farming community, as been said, and as such depend heavily upon an abundance of clean water. The effects of draining this site will be felt throughout our community. Firstly, it will affect the local water resources, but beyond that, it will set in motion a 28-mile series of trenching, dewatering, and discharging for the massive pipeline that will run through many other sources of clean water, as Jeff just said, namely the Southern Reliability Link, or the SRL. The public interest Transco cites in section 1.3 of its application is as flimsy and self-serving as it is vague. There are numerous studies by reputable agencies, most recently one conducted by Skipping Stone, a national firm with expertise in energy market services, that completely refute Transco and New Jersey Natural Gas's contention that this project provides enhanced reliability and resiliency to NJNG's service in Monmouth and Ocean counties. NJNG's Senior Vice President of Energy Delivery, Craig A. Lynch, testified before the BPU that in over 60 years the company has never experienced a transmission failure. And so I contend its system needs no improvement. In fact, the system currently has more methane gas than customers can use. Superstorm Sandy's effects on NJNG service, although touted throughout Transco and NJNG's filings, would not have been mitigated or indeed lessened in any way by the SRO. The methane was turned off at the distribution level because many customers' homes were no longer in need of it. They were destroyed, underwater, or on fire. Shutting off the methane was a prudent safety call. The only public interest served by these projects is the corporate greed of Transco, Williams, and NJNG. And I, for one, do not consider them public. Just because they call themselves a public utility doesn't make them a library. And where will the discharge go? Stating in their application they will use New Jersey soil erosion and sediment control best management practices is just not enough detail for this community. What does that mean? Bales of hay? How do we make sure they're discharging this vast amount of water with God knows what mixed in properly if there's nothing but a vague plan? This is a huge tract of land, and dewatering and discharging so many millions of gallons of water will affect the abundant wildlife in the area. Some of that wildlife is on open space land paid for by the taxpayers. How can dewatering and Green Acres open space tract be in the public interest? As taxpayers, we approve funds for such tracts because we want them to remain open and green. We are currently at the start of a dry spring, and hopefully we will get more rain, but not too much, because that's another problem, the increasingly unpredictable drought flood cycle. Did AECOM take into consideration the precipitation patterns are becoming more violent and unpredictable? Do they even take into consideration future conditions? We rely on groundwater, and as we get more prolonged droughts, it's easier to deplete the groundwater sources. Further, a lot of our septic systems are old and can't take the stress, which could lead to untreated waste in the groundwater. We already have restricted use for some local farmers, yet Transco proposes to draw down the local water table, putting those farmers' operations at risk. Droughts also lead to increases in pollens and other allergens that are certainly not in the public interest. Life is changing and we do need to adapt, and one way is to protect our water and wetlands. We need all the clean water sources and carbon capturing organisms we have and more. We need to change our mindset to not be looking so much towards the past but towards the future. And that future is full of conditions that are somewhat unknown and more extreme. We need to reduce our exposure and go into future changes. And there's not a lot of disagreement on what needs to be done. We have to find the political will to do it and figure out whose job it is to take the lead on different tasks. I know the thinking is that this is a federal project, and with the FERC issuance of the certificate of need, that this is a done deal. But the CON is predicated on Transco obtaining all necessary permits, including this. All right. I just want to say I believe the DEP should only issue an individual freshwater wetlands or open water fill permit if the regulated activity does not cause or contribute to a violation of any applicable state water quality standard. And your mandate is to protect all existing uses, all living things in stream that are aquatic and aquatic dependent habitat, and the American narrative water quality criteria designed to protect physical, chemical, and biological integrity. And so I urge you to take the lead and help NJNG adapt to help New Jersey adapt to a uncertain future by denying this permit.
Martha Veselka, V as in Victor, E-S-E-L-K-A, 34 Chesterfield Road. This is the first time the DEP has had a public review, and I appreciate it. Thank you. This gas compressor station is one component of a $150 million PennEast Southern Reliability Project. I believe it's not good public policy and may be unlawful to not have a public hearing on the whole pipeline and compressor station. Additionally, by not reviewing the entire project now, we are left to guess what the receiving infrastructure in eastern New Jersey will be. According to U.S. Representative Tom MacArthur, a few times, he has said the gas transmission line is for export. What will the infrastructure of the export facilities be? Where will they be? Have the environmental effects of the construction operation of these facilities been analyzed? There will be cumulative effects for this entire project. In accordance with the New Jersey Geological Water Survey, plans for diversion, construction, and operation must be just and equitable to water users affected. Thereby, the water withdrawal, construction, operation should not adversely affect other existing withdrawals, either ground or surface. Please show us evidence the DEP is evaluating the pipeline compressor station infrastructure as a whole, including future export facilities, impact to the environment. Next, as recommended in the New Jersey Water Survey Technical Memorandum 12.2, DEP regulates all major groundwater diversions of freshwater and non-freshwater that may impact freshwater. Major diversions are defined as those capable of withdrawing 100,000 gallons or more a day. Before the DEP issues a permit, an applicant must show that the diversion will not adversely impact other groundwater users or the natural environment and waterways of the state, now and in the future. I ask that an aquifer test be done on groundwater at the compressor station of aquifers affected along the pipeline and in the future project or export facility area as well. Next, what is the effect of toxic substance, specifically VOCs, which include benzene, MTBE, and vinyl chloride, and radionuclides and uranium from dewatering, construction, and operation of the compressor station and pipeline on my well? The current Chesterfield Township MUA water report indicates susceptibility for Chesterfield wells from VOCs is high and indicates that the susceptibility for radionuclides is high in Chesterfield today. This report does not take into effect any of the new construction, dewatering, or operation. A high rating means the potential contaminant level is equal or greater than 50% of the safe drinking water standard. What analysis has Transco and SRL done concerning these projects' contamination of VOCs and radionuclides in our aquifer and wells? How has the DEP analyzed this information? Have they updated this report with the impact of the dewatering, the construction, and the operation of the pipeline and compressor station? Then, has the DEP evaluated Transco and New Jersey Natural Gas's pollution effects on our drinking water and vulnerability?
Ma'am, your time is up.
Finally, I implore the DEP to purchase hazard insurance to cover remediation and cleanup in case of contamination.
Just hold the next three people: Roger Schneider, Jamie Zakar, and John Kokobinski. Go ahead, Richard.
Good evening. Rich Bizub, that's B-I-Z-U-B. I'm Director for Water Programs at Pinelines Preservation Alliance. There's 4 topics I hope I can get through tonight. If not, we'll certainly submit them written. The first is potential impacts to the wetlands and the streams. You know, when you look at the reports that were submitted, you notice that the saturated zone on top of the Woodbury clay is not very thick. This is the zone that's identified in the reports as strata number 1. You know, the thickness ranges from about 5 to 23 feet, but on average is less than 12 feet throughout the site, and in some places much thinner than that. So some of the piping that's going to be an excavation that's going to be dewatered ranges from 9 to 13 feet deep below ground surface. So a significant portion of the water column on top of the Woodbury clay will be dewatered. And this is the water-bearing zone that provides base flow to the 2 streams and associated wetlands. Even though groundwater that is removed by dewatering is going to be land applied on site, and in theory will recharge the water-bearing zone, losses to the streams and wetland systems can be significant if evaporative losses aren't kept to a minimum. Especially during the summer and early fall, when more than 30% can be lost through evaporation and transpiration. So this application is certainly temporary, but it's not short duration, it's 10 months. So there needs to be more specifics in the application about how evaporative losses will be minimized. The next item is that this site, the surrounding area, has been formed since 1930, prior to 1931. That's about as far back as I could go in looking at historic aerial photos. So there's a good possibility that there's tile drains on the site, and that really needs to be looked into through the Burlington County Soil Conservation District and other agencies. And if not, well, if there are tile drains and they're not figured into the equation, then the dewatering calculations can be way off. The other item is that this is a dewatering application in the Delaware River Basin. And this is under the purview of Delaware River Basin Commission also. And looking through the file, there's no documentation that DRBC was even contacted or received any approval. So for this application to be deemed complete, it needs to have Delaware River Basin Commission approval also. And at that, I do have some other items, but I'll just submit them in writing. Thank you.
My name is Roger Schneider, S-C-H-N-E-I-D-E-R. I'm not too smart in all this dewatered and all that stuff, But I do know if they pump water out of the ground, it has to be taken off the property, it has to be pumped into something. Where's all this water gonna go that they take out of the ground? The quality of life that the people have out here in Chesterfield and in Bordertown are gonna be affected tremendously by this project. All the traffic is gonna come through Bordentown, all of it, all the heavy equipment, everything that they bring in here is gonna come down Route 528. It's gonna go, my property borders 528. It's gonna come right by my house, and 50 foot off that road. My house shakes when a regular truck comes down that road. What restraints are we gonna even put on these people if this project is allowed for the noise levels that are gonna be created out there? For the people, we have a large population that lives within a mile of this project. We have 2 schools. Our first responders in Bordentown, our first aid, our fire department are just over a half a mile away. I live 3/4 of a mile away. And I just like to beg the DEP to help us and really do their work and look at all the water issues that are going to be there and help us stop this project. I beg you to help us. Thank you.
Is Jamie here? Jamie Zachariah? No? Okay. John Kubinski?
Yeah, thank you very much.
John, hold on.
John, it's K-O-C-U-B-I-N-S-K-I. Excuse me?
One moment, please. The next 3 speakers that we want to also call up after you are Glenn Schulke, Patricia Caruso, and Rita Rowe. Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. Did you get the, okay, very good. Okay, I'm a resident, 950 Province Line Road, also a township committeeman in North Hanover Township, and therefore a resident of North Hanover Township. In regard to the application, we have been going to, and I say we, the groups opposing, obviously, this infrastructure. Public safety, health, and welfare is paramount, which in essence covers the impact this project will have on the aquifer, wetlands, streams, which also includes farming operations in our region. In our region, North Hanover, Chesterfield, we have preserved substantial acres to the tune in North Hanover, more than $10 million of local, county, state monies. What could possibly be the impact if there were a drought, or if there is a drought? I know there's restrictions on draw from streams for irrigation and wells for irrigation. So with that said, what could possibly be the negative impact that this dewatering effort could have on farmers, which is basically our industry out here, okay? So we need to seriously look at that. And I know there's been facts brought up tonight about what is DEP going to do to review the information, simply not taking the information submitted and saying, yeah, this looks good or whatever, but in fact going out doing the appropriate, proper testing. Again, I'd like to know what data will be presented, and has the applicant really identified any negative impacts that may occur? It didn't seem like there was anything listed in their presentation as to potential negative impacts. I gotta believe in the real world that all things have a potential and possibility of negative impact. So again, all I ask is take a look at the history of the area, the farming, the environment, and the aquifer, and what's going to be the impact to the aquifer, to the recharge systems, to the streams, and do the appropriate, proper analysis, and perhaps this will be information that will prevent this from happening. Thank you.
Hi, Glenn Shulkin, S-C-H-U-L-K-I-N. I'm the lucky ticket holder of being right across the street from this project with 4 of my neighbors. It seems to me that not only were we originally told that the paperwork submitted, there were no wells within a quarter of a mile, and then there were no wells within 400 yards, and then there now all of a sudden there's all these other wells. So the couple of words that I wanted to mention, and then I wanted to read something to you quickly. There is a number of areas where they discuss so eloquently that we do not expect. And I think if you look through their paperwork, you will see we do not expect. What the hell does that mean? Are you serious? We do not expect. 3 of the most intelligent people that we have that led off any meeting, and I've been here 27 years. So not only was I not told the property was sold, no representative came to my house, no paperwork came with us, yet we were told we didn't have a well, nor my other 4 neighbors. And by the way, these wells are between 30 and 200 feet of this property. These are 5 wells. We'll be dead. I'm 70 years old. I will be dead by the time we figure this out. So let me tell you another thing about inconsistencies. Inconsistencies are all the things that they've changed over and over and over. Well, there's another word for inconsistencies, and those are outright lies. No blast. No blast zone, yet the Bordentown Register said the blast zone was over a mile. None of these pipelines and or pumping stations or whatever you call them, terminals or whatever the compressor stations have ever blown up. Yet 4 months ago when we, Radner, a lawyer that represents this company but not hired by the company, came to us and I asked very simple questions. Has anything ever blown up? No, it never happened. 3 months ago in North Dakota, this exact project was 3/4 of the way built, and it blew up where it knocked windows out of houses and artwork off walls over a mile away. The Bordentown Register said that within 1 to 3 miles, and I know you only care about water quality, but how do you differentiate water quality and air quality when the two mix together? And we're told that every kid in that school that comes out for playtime will get bloody noses. There will be fertility problems throughout the whole entire township. People will get sick. When I asked that question, they told me that there is not one person in the United States that they had to in any way do anything directly to move them. Well, you know what? They all signed non-disclosure agreements. People moved out of their houses.
Sir, time.
Okay, and well, just want to read to you to let you know that the courage that we need from you was done by the governor of New York 3 days ago. Governor Cuomo and state officials made a special Earth Day announcement Friday denying a critical permit for the controversial constitutional pipeline. The New York State Department of Conservation rejected a water quality certificate needed for this pipeline, gas pipeline, and the DEC said construction would affect streams and acres of valuable forest land. I was told there's no streams. Not only is there a wetland there, but the stream behind my house has endangered turtles, 20 kinds of, we have an ex-mayor here whose brother got prosecuted for killing endangered turtles. But we shouldn't worry about those endangered turtles now. We have nesting pairs of bald eagles. We have wildlife in this stream. She said there was no streams. I said, what about the stream that goes under right onto your property and meets 3 other streams? What about the 140 acres of forest area that touches this property and around this property?
Sir, thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you. So in closing, let me say that when she said that there would be no release of methane gases, this Lee Rutner released something that is part of their company. Once a month, they release 5 miles of gas. I forget what it's called, a burnout. And there will be thousands of pounds of ash coming down on their property, and around that will go into the water, into the aquifer, into my drinking water.
Thank you.
And I hope I lose weight from this, because it might be the only way I'm going to lose weight.
Hi, my name is Patricia Caruso, C-A-R-U-S-O. I'm a member of the People Over Pipelines, and I also live in Upper Freehold. I'm not here tonight to talk as a scientist, or an environmentalist, or an engineer, or a geologist. I am here tonight to talk to all of you in my most important role, and I think everyone in this room would agree, that of a parent. As a visual, I wanted to just bring a 30-inch model of the pipeline. I know that we're all bright enough and we know what a 30-inch pipeline is, but I think it's important to keep this in mind as I speak. I am deeply concerned about the safety of my family. This 30-inch, over 700 pound per square inch pipeline would have more than 500,000 pounds of pressure in it. If this explodes, we all know catastrophic results would occur. This would run directly in front of our house that my husband built himself 20 years ago. My 3 children have fished for the past 15 years in a small stream that runs in front of our house. In addition, deer, fox, and other small animals drink from this stream on a daily basis. How will the aquatic life and wildlife be protected if this compressor station and pipeline are built? Sadly, the stream will become contaminated and or dry up. There will be many toxic chemicals used during the horizontal drilling of this pipeline. How will you protect us from the damaging effects of that? What will happen if our wells are contaminated? According to NJAC:7:19, a permit is a privilege, not a right. Who is protecting the rights of the thousands of people who are not supporting this dangerous and unnecessary project? Despite attending weekly meetings over the past year to prevent this disaster, our voices are not being heard. We are being silenced by wealthy corporations such as NJNG and Transco. Their main goal is to profit financially. Another example of corporate greed, regardless of the safety, water, and environmental risks. Please do not rubber stamp this project and grant Transco the permits that they need. Please be leaders. Make the ethical, moral, professional, and appropriate decisions and deny the permits that Transco requires. Protect the citizens, water supplies, aquatic life, wildlife, and environment. New Jersey is starting to become known as the pipeline state, not the garden state. How is this dangerous, unnecessary project in the public interest? And as the previous speaker indicated, we have to rejoice that New York State Department of Environmental Conservation recently rejected the proposed pipeline by denying them the 401 water quality certificate. Please listen to our concerns and follow suit. I am pleading with you. Thank you very much.
Hi,
My name is Rita Romeo, that's R-O-M-E-U, and I reside at 433 Ellisdale Road. I want to thank you for having this hearing because this is one of the few opportunities the community has really had to speak out on this issue, seeing as BPU does not have a public comment provision and FERC does not have hearings either. I'm going to come at this from a slightly different angle. I know a lot of very valuable things have been said already that I will touch on too, but I have several neighbors who are farmers, as well as some friends who are business owners and specifically home builders in the township. Being a business owner myself, I felt it was very important to express some of the concerns of the business owners of Chesterfield. I've talked with several of my farmer friends about their concerns with this proposed dewatering portion of the project, as well as other business owners, including a home builder. Many of their concerns are very similar to what some of the residents have already expressed, but I want everybody to keep in mind that in Chesterfield, farming is really our main business. Farmers depend on a regular water supply, both from area wells, area creeks, and streams. My former neighbors irrigate from creeks and ponds, and of course they depend on their wells for maintaining their farm businesses. Some of the questions that they had are, that I feel are very important, is, is Transco digging a pond in the wetlands for the discharge? Where is the discharge going to go? Who is going to monitor all of the chemical levels in the water during this process? And where can we all go to look for a detailed description of the project that isn't vague? Other concerns that they have are, how will the diversion of water impact farm irrigation wells and ponds in Chesterfield Township, which has a large block of preserved farmland, along with our neighboring township of Upper Freehold? How will surface water flow be impacted, including potential adverse impacts to creek and pond aquatic life, including, as some of my friends have, property, beavers, fish, waterfowl, and important plant species such as native milkweed, which is critical to survival of the monarch butterfly. So we would like to see how these issues have been addressed in the application and are going to be addressed by DEP. Some of the builders and realtors I've talked to had some different concerns. One builder reminded me that one time a few years ago, when many wells dried up in the township, not only was it very unfortunate for the residents, but the DEP denied builders any permits to dig new wells at that time. So if surrounding wells go dry, what will be the impact on builders' permits? Has this issue been looked at and addressed? We were also interested in finding out if a water conservation and drought management plan had been submitted by Transco, and if so, where we can find that. So in general, everybody that I spoke to, myself included, just felt that there were too many unanswered questions for this really to move ahead, and we implore you to take the time to really research this and communicate with us. Thank you.
And following Bill, the next three will be Glenn Ashton, Ronnie Basal, and Steve Benowitz.
Excuse me, good evening, Bill Wolf, W-O-L-F-E, I live in Bordentown. Thank you everybody for coming. This is really a great turnout and the testimony has been spectacular. I really appreciate it, thanks. The hearing officer's introductory statement left some important information out that I think people should be aware of. This permit is issued pursuant to the Water Supply Management Act. The legislature has deemed that the water resources of the state are publicly owned, held in trust for the citizens of the state, not out-of-state corporations. That's a very important fact. And I take exception to your failure to note that. It's your statutory charge from the legislature. Secondly, the summation of the department's findings left out very critical findings the department is obligated to make under the regulations at NJAC 7:19 2.3, where it's the applicant's burden to demonstrate that the project is in the public interest. That means everything that people said today is about the public interest because it's things the public cares about. And the hearing officer tried to narrow that testimony to just merely the compressor station. And the applicant themselves got up and presented the whole damn project. So nobody should be under any illusion that the department, and I think it demonstrates bad faith on the department's part, to even attempt to narrow the scope of the public's testimony. And it's in writing as well in the public notice on the hearing. And I think it fails to reflect the statutory mandate the department is obligated to enforce. And that should be intolerable. And I'm glad nobody was intimidated by that nonsense and people spoke their mind and what they care about. There are several permits still pending on this project. I'd like to affiliate myself with Matt Mullo's comments on a technical basis. The department still has a wetlands permit outstanding, I understand, on this project, and that's going to deal with the dewatering of the wetlands issues, some of the hydro modifications. So this is really premature, particularly given all the technical deficiencies in the hydrogeological demonstrations and some of the inconsistencies in just basic data. And I too read the application and it said there were no streams. So I thought I was a little bit fuzzy-headed, but I guess not. Other folks picked up on it. And lastly, from a big picture standpoint, this is a fossil fuel infrastructure project of a regional scale. It starts in the frac fields of Pennsylvania and is importing gas through the Penn East pipeline, which is then connected to this compressor station, and then to the Southern Reliability Link and the South Jersey Gas Pipeline, and then at the tail end of the project is the BL England Power Plant, and some say a repowering operation at Oyster Creek in the future. So this is a massive $2 billion plus infrastructure project. To try to compress that project into a dewatering permit application is ludicrous on its face. And I'll close with saying the wetlands regulations, number one, explicitly prohibit segmentation that you're doing here tonight.
For our stenographer, she just needs a break. All right, so 5 minutes. And next up will be Glenn We're going to get started again. Glenn Ashton is our next speaker.
Glenn Ashton, A-S-H-T-O-N, and I live in Bordentown, New Jersey. My concerns are many for this senseless project. It only puts more money in deep pockets. The particular concern I'm asking you about tonight is whether the water diversion required to build a compressor station is just and equitable to the residents of our county, our environment, and wildlife in the impacted area as is required by your guidance documents. While I'm not an expert by any means about the effects of dewatering on the environment and wildlife, it is apparent that Transco has done an inadequate job of identifying the number of wells within a half mile of the compressor site. It concerns me, in light of the danger that this project, and particularly the compressor station, presents to our towns, that other serious mistakes in their data may have been made. We have been sold out by so many. The New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, FERC, and many of our elected officials who have ignored the facts and the dangers this project presents, only to serve their self-interest. We are appealing to you to review the Transco application with the studied consideration it deserves and consider carefully the impact it has on our residents in doing so. The reasons given for the construction of this PennEast Southern Reliability Pipeline along with the Transco compressor station have shown to be false, and our citizens will not only suffer the adverse effects of its construction, but we now know for sure what we suspected all along. We're going to pay for it. This must be stopped. We need to follow the precedent recently set in our neighboring states that have shut down pipeline projects as being against the best interests of the state. The Constitution Pipeline in New York and the Kinder Morgan Pipeline in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Paraphrasing Roger Downs of the Sierra Club's Atlantic chapter from a recent New York Times article, quote, "We need to put the protection of our water and climate before flawed energy projects that do not serve the public interest." I and many others in our community implore you to follow the precedent of the New York environmental regulators and reject this permit on the grounds that it does not meet the standards needed to protect our citizens and natural environment. Thank you.
Steve Benowitz. Okay. The next three people, Catherine Marlin, Tim Serpico, and Vincent Carabin.
Hello, my name is Catherine Marlin. It's Katherine, and Marlin like the fish, Marlin. My husband and I live at 31 Bordentown Chesterfield Road in Chesterfield. This is a blown up picture of the proposed site. And our home is right here. It looks like a little black dot, it's pretty hard to see. And then here's my neighbor Glenn's house, right here. He spoke a little earlier. This whole project has been a nightmare, and this is our only opportunity to speak openly to someone who hopefully is truly listening, and with all due respect, just not trying to check a box. So thank you very much for allowing us to speak tonight. I appreciate it. As mentioned, our home is across the street from the proposed site that could potentially be dewatered should this move forward. And property line to property line, it's less than 50 feet. Our well and septic system are only a couple of hundred feet from the site, an eighth of a mile, according to page 45 in the application document. However, on page 44, it states there aren't any wells within a quarter mile of the site. Obviously, that statement is incorrect. And that's just one example of contradicting statements in the application. Because tonight, apparently there are 21 wells within a quarter mile. So how many more contradiction statements are noted in the application? Dewatering in general is concerning. It is very alarming, and they are requesting to remove at least 70, that's 70, million gallons of water. However, I learned tonight that that's also inconsistent. So it is very alarming. What will the impacts be to our home, to our water, to our septic, to our neighbors' homes, wells, septic, and our community's aquifer as a whole, especially in the case we have a drought. I'm very afraid we will not have water. If this permit does get approved, I am formally requesting the state protect us and demand Transco Williams to test our water before and after the dewatering occurs. I know our water has not been tested yet. Has the aquifer been tested? What happens in this scenario? Our well does dry up and or our water is contaminated. Who is responsible? Who is to pay to fix this? And what are we supposed to do? What is the so-called contingency plan that was mentioned tonight? We have a stream that runs through our yard. That stream is the home to a very wide variety of fish and wildlife. What will be the impact if that stream is dry? What will happen to the wildlife that depend on that water source for life? Our home and address are specifically noted in various areas of this application. Dewatering is a possible threat to homes and water systems in the area. If we are pointed out, we must be at a higher risk. If there were no risk, we wouldn't be here. The compressor station project, including and beginning with dewatering and through its future operation, is not in the public's interest. I assure you this is true because we are the public and we are not interested. So I urge you to please deny this permit. Thank you, and thank you everyone for coming.
Okay. Vincent Carabin. Vince, I'm going to call three people up. Just hold on a second. Garrett Alcia, Dan Caruso, and Belinda Blazik. Go ahead, Vincent.
It's Vincent Carabin, CA. A lot has been said tonight about not expected to, and that gentleman there, John, was saying, not expected to do this or that. Well, I want to give you a little history lesson. Williams, parent company of Transco, back in 2003, they paid $20 million to settle claims of reporting false data to manipulate the natural gas market in the U.S. They've also settled with California for $900 million. To me, that's, it's a lot of money. Then they agreed to pay $290 to settle a class action lawsuit. Okay, so that's the part I call thievery. When you start fixing prices, that's stealing, where I come from. Let's go a little further. 2009, they were fined $1 million for failure to monitor corrosion adequately with the Virginia pipeline explosion in 2008. Transco didn't report a leak for 4 days. Okay. Then they had one in 2010, 2011. They were fined $275,000 over failing to implement or maintain stormwater measures to prevent potential pollutants during plant construction. That was in Colorado. State inspectors notified Williams of the violations and told to take immediate action. According to the report, Williams didn't do anything about it for 7 months. Then they were fined again for failure to conduct their own annual inspections. Then they had one in 2012 in Pennsylvania. They restarted, they had an explosion at a compressor station. This is the company that doesn't have an explosion, by the way. And within 24 hours, they started pumping frac gas, despite a request from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection not to do so. DEP states they make it very clear in the above matter, but because it was not an official order, no fines were issued. 1 ton of methane released. Okay. Let's go a little further. 2013, in Colorado, groundwater is contaminated with benzene. Benzene is cancer-causing and breaks down the bone marrow. 2013, Williams Transo rejects U.S. Army Corps of Engineers safety recommendations in connection with the proposed Rockaway lateral natural gas pipeline, claiming the requirements would needlessly delay the project and force cost overruns, God forbid. Then they had one, and this is the most glaring because I see the proportion right. They had one down in June, this was in Louisiana. They had an explosion. This was a $350 million expansion. 700 contract workers were present. 2 people killed, ages 29 and 47. 70 injuries, 62,000 pounds of toxic chemical release. Okay? So my question is, what the hell are we doing here? What are we doing here? Are we serious that we even deal with people like this? They steal, they lie. What am I missing? Is there something that I'm not getting? Is there something that I'm not getting?
E-L-S-C-A. I live on 94 Harness Way, and I'm a hydrogeologist. And yesterday, my wife and kids asked me to look into this dewatering permit. So I tried. I called Andy McDonald, the DEP, and asked for the draft, DEP's draft permit and the applicant's application. And I noticed a few things that were concerning. First of which, the BWA 002 submitted in December was on an outdated form. Your form was revised in November of 2015. They submitted first in December of 2015 the wrong form, the out-of-date form. The new form requires PDF to be submitted and other, not much difference in type of information, but some. Administratively, they used the wrong form. You should probably, from that reason alone, extend this this period of public comment. And as a result of that, the PDF I received was from the DEP's, which limited services. They scan the hard copy. But most of the figures you can't read because they're blacked out, and the tables aren't legible because you can't see the whole thing. So. Andy told me this is the same document sent to my township and their experts, and how are they going to do a complete review if they can't even read the report. Their Oprah and other things, I think that's unacceptable. But that's just administratively. Technically, under your own rules and requirements and technical guidance, the hydrogeological report is incomplete, inadequate under your own standards. TP 12-2 wasn't, I mean, if you had a pre-app meeting and told them that aquifer testing was required, you shouldn't have. And I see that their dewatering calcs are based on grain size analysis, which in many of your own guidances you don't even accept. So I could make calculations with the same parameters they put in the report and ship and have a much larger zone of influence. They just said it wasn't going off site. What I could see in the figures, you got 36 areas, a lot of them near the boundary of your site, or wetlands. They did the spreadsheets with just one at a time, one excavation at a time. We know we're not going to dewater one at a time. And you're going to have combined effects, and you are going to have a much larger zone of influence. So there's an inadequate report by your own standards. It's the wrong form, and I'm going to submit some comments, but I respectfully request that you meet with me. I'd like to see, at the very least, before next week, the end of this comment period, I want to see the actual report on a blacked out version, so I can make a more complete review. I think you should really consider doing a more complete review too. It seems like you're ready to pass. You have this draft application, this package that says you're ready to green light this thing, but I think you really need to reconsider. And I'd like to ask my request to meeting with you guys before next week.
Sorry I had to leave. I've been along, Ron Wassell, W-A-S-S-A-L-L, 47 Dorktown, Chesterfield Road. I've been a long resident here in Chesterfield Township for over 50 years. I have a 18-foot irrigation pond. My first well from this agency putting their development in over here is 1,277 feet from this company putting this in. I measured it this morning. My well is 22 feet deep, and I'm taking water from 18 feet. If this is not going to affect my water table for my living in this home, Who's gonna protect me but yous? I'm here for the house. I'm taking care of 2 handicapped women in my house right now, which is my mother, which is 82, she's blind, handicapped, can't walk. The police have been there. Thank you for the police squad that we have here in this township. I'm here asking for help from yous. This cannot happen. This is gonna take my lake that I have in the back with my aquatic life, and I have 2 wells on my property, and I am a farmer here. And I do drip irrigation, and I brought the proof tonight, but I'm not gonna present it to you. Thank you.
Dan Caruso. Dan Caruso? Is he here?
Dan Caruso, 201 Providence Lynn Road. I mistakenly filled out the card, but I'll speak anyway. I'm a professional engineer by trade, professional, and I've dealt with the DEP for numerous projects, wetland, stream encroachment, and I've had some projects of parking lots next to a stream where we're going to put a little bit of asphalt instead of gravel. Taking 3-4 years to get approvals for that type of a project. I would say on this, as another department of the DEP, I look at this project, it's taken 5-7 years to get their approvals. So I hope that you really look at the data that's been submitted and make the right choice. A lot of lives depend on it. Thank you.
And the 3 people following her would be Patty Cronheim, thank you, sorry. Carol Pan, and Nicole Bensivengo.
Okay. My name is Belinda Blazik, Blazic. I live at 228 Bordentown Chesterfield Road. Our home is located 1.5 miles from the project site. We rely solely on well water, so I'm extremely concerned about the impacts that the proposed diversion will have on our water resources. The original application submitted by the applicant for this project stated no wells existed within 1/2 mile from the water diversion site. Subsequently, an addendum was submitted by the applicant and received by the DEP on February 3rd, 2016, identifying 20 private wells, not 21. Table 8 of the resubmission references 8 wells within 1/4 mile, it's Exhibit A, when in fact members of the People Over Pipelines canvassed the area using addresses from the applicant's addendum as a guide to determine the properties within 1/2 mile range from the site, had identified 35 residential private wells within 1/2 mile of the project site. Exhibit B, which I will give you when I'm done. It should be noted that the environmental assessment report that was submitted to FERC by Transco dated November 2015 stated on page 17, Exhibit C, we received comments on potential impacts on residential cisterns, wells, and septic systems in the project area. However, no public or private supply wells were identified within 150 feet and up to 1 mile, respectively, from any construction area associated with either Station 205 or 203. An unoccupied residential home that contains a private well is present at the Station 203 property. This home has been acquired by Transco. The existing well would be abandoned in accordance with NJDEP requirements. No seeps or springs are present at the project area. Therefore, we do not anticipate any significant impacts on cisterns, wells, or septic systems in the project areas. So, in response to the environmental assessment report, numerous comments were submitted by residents stating that this information is inaccurate and that almost all residents around the construction site and along the gas pipeline route do indeed have wells and septic systems. In response to residents' concerns, Transco addressed the issue by submitting a response to FERC, stating that only one well was located within 150 feet. With that being said, I'm concerned that the applicant and professional engineer has not provided accurate and sufficient information to the DEP for review to ensure compliance and accurately address the water resource impacts that could occur from this project. Number one, I would like to know if the applicant conducted an aquifer test to generate sufficient information to allow evaluation of the groundwater diversion's potential impacts. Number two, Transco submitted an application for a 30-day permit to begin this project. Since this permit, 1322, could take up to 180 days, was this permit issued? We want to know that.
May I have your time?
Okay. Just real quick, there was one thing I really wanted to just mention. I'm also concerned about the wetlands because the diversion site, I have wetlands around my home, and it's my understanding that the wetlands provide valuable water quality protection to retaining and cleansing surface runoff to water bodies. Given that Transco will be removing up to 7 million gallons of groundwater in a given month, water in the wetlands could be lowered by the loss of groundwater flow to the wetlands. So that's another concern I have, and I'll leave you with the rest of my comments.
Patty?
Good evening. My name is Patty Kronheim, and I'm with Rethink Energy New Jersey. Kronheim is spelled C-R-O-N-H-E-I-M. And looking at the dewatering permit, we find that based on the significant amount of water proposed to be pumped, that there will be a drawdown of the groundwater that drives the hydrology of the wetlands and the base flow of surface water present on the site. These impacts will therefore affect regulated resources that include wetlands and surface waters, and therefore need to be fully analyzed in order to completely understand the severity of the impacts on regulated resources. The impacts to regulated resources, including wetlands and waters, are avoidable impacts that should be directly associated with Transco's selection of the site, since it is the presumption of the NJDEP that non-wetland alternatives exist. These impacts, no matter how short the duration, conflict with the Federal 401 Freshwater Protection Act, as well as New Jersey's water quality standards. The New Jersey water quality standards set forth the state's obligation to, and I quote, maintain and enhance the chemical, physical, and biological integrity of its waters, to protect the public health, to safeguard aquatic biota, and protect scenic and ecological values. In the context of this application, the diminishment of flow will not safeguard the aquatic biota of these streams. Since Transco's proposed compressor station is also subject to the requirements of a 401 freshwater wetlands individual permit, any drawdown related impacts must be subject to a detailed alternatives analysis that clearly shows that there are no other alternatives that would have a less adverse impact on the aquatic ecosystem or would not involve a freshwater wetland or state open water. FERC's certificate of public convenience and necessity should not be viewed as being analogous to satisfying the public interest requirement of an individual freshwater wetlands permit. The application for a FERC certificate describes the purpose and commercial need for the project, the transportation rate to be charged to customers, proposed project facilities, and how the company will comply with applicable regulatory requirements. In contrast, the freshwater wetlands protection at N.J.A.C. 7:7A-7.2 standard requirements for all individual permits define the public interest very, very differently and includes the public interest in the preservation of natural resources. The impacts associated with this application do not safeguard natural resources. FERC looks at the operational and financial aspects of projects. This has little or no bearing on how pipeline projects actually create cumulative impacts in the real world, beyond schematics and spreadsheets. Nature, as we all know, is complex, increasingly unpredictable, and interconnected. Nature doesn't recognize artificial constructs that FERC creates, and neither should the DEP. Therefore, we request that the NJDEP withdraw the dewatering permit, and that the impacts of the drawdown are included as part of the review of the individual wetlands permit application. We also ask that the DEP hold public hearings for the individual wetland permit that allows robust public input. This drawdown permit cannot be adequately evaluated and should not be approved until your department has completed a thorough and inclusive review of the individual wetlands permit application. And I just want to end by saying, thank you, New Jersey DEP. We do have over the years very strong water laws. And we know that by simply fully enacting existing New Jersey and federal water regulations, the DEP has the tools at its disposal to stop projects like Penn East, the Southern Reliability Link, and to stop the Garden State expansion.
I hope that on your way in you were able to take a look at all the beautiful photos on the wall over there behind those gentlemen. If you haven't seen them on your way in, please stop on your way out and take a look. A group of residents have been taking photos of this wildlife and wetlands at the proposed compressor station. They've been accessing the property that Bordentown still owns, which is only a very, very small piece of the full area. And even though it's only a very small piece, abundant wildlife and wildlife habitats have been documented as seen in these photos. We're concerned that the effect on wildlife has not been sufficiently evaluated. For example, the site currently has thriving vernal pools, many birds' nests and birds, and even a pregnant or nursing fox. And this is only one very, very small piece of the entire property. The concern is that the DEP is aware of what will be destroyed if this project is approved. And we ask that further wildlife studies be conducted. Thank you.
C-A-N-N, spelling of your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, C-A-N-N. Sorry.
Thank you. Nicole?
I'm Nicole Bencivengo, Bencivengo. This is my daughter, Dorothy. I'm at 5 Bordentown Chesterfield Road. I am one of the wells, less than a quarter mile away from the project here. I moved to Chesterfield 3 years ago. It's a farming town with beautiful landscapes and an abundance of wildlife, an amazing school system, and a lot of great people. Never had we imagined we would be living a stone's throw away from such a monstrosity. Dewatering may be a temporary process with no adverse effects, but I'm sure these adverse effects of this project will last a lifetime. What do I do if my well and septic can't handle the changes? What are the long-term effects of the contaminants that are going to come along with this project? What will happen to the displaced wildlife? What will happen to the farmers, their crops, and their livelihood? What will happen to the water quality? No one can give us a truthful, educated answer. What goes up must come down, and our soil and water will be affected. How will my neighbors, myself, my family, my friends, and my young daughter be affected? Please make the decision to deny this permit and preserve the integrity of Chesterfield and Bordentown Township.
Speakers are Thomas Galpian, Lena Smith, and I think this is Lily or Lila Taylor.
Oh, that's fine.
Yes. That is? Okay. You the third one. Thomas first.
Thomas Glapian, that's G-L-A, as in Paul, I-O-N. I reside at 606 Chesterfield, Arningtown Road, Chesterfield, New Jersey. I resided my whole life in the state of New Jersey. I stand before you gravely concerned about the dewatering project associated with the compressor station and the detrimental effects that it may impose on my only source of drinking water, my private well. I wasn't sure how to address this issue in this or any other forum. I started to research dewatering, and I found myself reading things such as the aquifer conditions in the presence of any aquatards and aquaclids have a critical effect. For example, if the aquifer is highly transmissive, then the distance of influence of pumping will be large, and there is a potential for drawdown of groundwater levels to occur at great distances from the dewatering system. Great distances. Or if a multiple aquifer system is being dewatered, the presence of aquacludes between the aquifers may restrict the transmission of drawdown impacts from one aquifer to another. Where dewatering pumping is carried out in an aquifer, which is used as a source for water supply by third parties, for example, for drinking water or for industrial water use, there can be negative impacts on the available water resources from the aquifer. These types of impacts are most commonly of concern where a dewatering system is to pump high flow rates for extended periods of time, several months or longer. In that case, the sustained dewatering pumping may have a potential to lower regional groundwater levels in the aquifer and reduce the water resources available to third-party abstractors. This may be apparent in the short term in the form of lowered water levels in the water supply wells and correspondingly reduced yields. Well, the thing about it is, the more I read, the more concerned I became. Not only because what I read upset me, but I realized that I could not present a logical argument due to my lack of understanding of all of the technical and engineering issues for which I profess ignorance. I am greatly concerned because the dewatering project is adjacent to the New Jersey Turnpike, and that happens to be one of the busiest highway corridors in the nation. And when those cars go up and down that highway, the spillage from the benzene, from the gasoline, and the collective come off the turnpike in that area and accumulate. So when you start dewatering, what happens is you create a vacuum. It pulls water from along other areas into that vacuum. So now we're pulling more pollutants, and the question's been raised, where's it all going? I'm concerned about the vehicle pollution that's washed into that area and how that water would now be disturbed and redistributed. I am greatly concerned because many of my neighbors and friends and farmers depend on wells, and I have neither seen nor heard of mention to establish test wells from the furthest supply point, nor to mention of establishing a baseline water test throughout the project area. Subsurface cavitation, soil displacement, contamination, aquifers, I quickly realized that I am in over my head. So I asked myself, and I'm going to rush this, who's best suited to represent me? Shouldn't it be the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection? So I looked to your website, and it appears that the Water Monitoring and Standards has the primary responsibility of closely monitoring the state's fresh marine and groundwater. So I see the red light. So I'm going to jump ahead here. I think this project needs to be taken in its entirety. Because if you just look at the compressor station, I'm going to ask the question, when you get down to 539 where the Beaumont site was, how are you going to go through that plutonium contaminated land? That land is full of contaminants. And as a fact, as a law enforcement officer for the Joint Base, I sat in many meetings when the Beaumont site was being depleted, and I suggested that they dig a trench so you can't go in there and reclaim the metal, which they were doing. The engineers adamantly opposed that because they said they don't want to disturb the groundwater and the plutonium flowing through that, and there are wells in there now. So how are we going to get to this point, people? So you need to stop it now. That's all I'm going to ask. I'm going to give you this letter.
Lena Smith, Lena Smith. It's a hard one. New Jersey Natural Gas has not showed need for the project, and since the compressor is being built to supply gas to New Jersey Natural Gas, the compressor station is unneeded. Water is a public good and should remain in the public trust. Oh, I should say I work for an organization called Food and Water Watch, and we work to protect our water and keep it publicly owned and controlled. So water being a public good and remaining in the public trust, it shouldn't be allowed to be controlled and diverted by an out-of-state corporation. The compressor station and pipeline are not in the public's interests, and the proposed dewatering is not in the public's interest. The Garden State Expansion Project, if constructed, will inflict severe and irreparable harm on New Jersey fish, wildlife, wetlands, and hydrologic patterns. The compressor station will require cutting down forests and critical wetland habitat, robbing us of the many benefits they provide. Groundwater flows will be diminished and altered in ways that harm streams, wetlands, and potential drinking water supplies. The Garden State Expansion Project will cause and contribute to violations of state water quality standards and degradation of ground and surface water. The compressor station will damage property values, businesses of all kinds, and will subject this community to the risks of the air pollution from blowdowns. The dewatering for the construction of the proposed Transco compressor station will have significant effects on the wetlands. The project may have adverse impacts on groundwater, agriculture wells, residential wells, surface water flow, wetlands, and aquatic life. The project may have adverse impacts on its users and is not in the public interest. The proposed project fails to address the significant water resource impact that could occur from this project and has failed to provide sufficient information to demonstrate compliance with New Jersey state water quality standards. The dewatering for the compressor Transco station will have significant effects on the wetlands. The DEP should withdraw the dewatering permit until the wetlands issues are addressed and hold public hearings on wetlands permits. The DEP should not consider issuing the state freshwater wetlands permit in lieu of the requirement under the Clean Water Act for a 401 water quality certificate and should deny the 401 water quality certificate. The project is not in the public's interest and the threats that it poses to our water, air, health, safety, environment, and quality of life must be taken into consideration. This project is being proposed solely for corporate gain. We cannot allow for our water, which is supposed to be held in the public trust, to be managed by a private out-of-state corporation. Thank you.
Then after Yuli, it would be Jacqueline Haylaw.
My name is Julia Haller. I'm the German guy. It's in Chesterfield. I live on 55 Wood on Chesterfield Road. And I'm really worried about this pipeline coming through here. I don't think it's safe. I say we should look at a new situation. Why we don't look at solar power or something like that? When the sun shines in Europe, we don't have much sunshine. Here in America, we got a lot of sunshine. I got little solar lights outside in my house. They work beautiful. And they're getting better every day. So that's what I suggest. Get rid of the pipeline, go with solar.
Jacqueline Halla, and after Jacqueline, it would be Jean Kovac, Linda Frezzi, and Fairfax Hatter.
My name is Jacqueline Hallow, H-A-L-A-W, and I'm a concerned resident from Chesterfield. I'm also, I was previously employed as a geologist. And my comments are concerning New Jersey Administrative Code 719 2-3, Sections D, Sections G2. The technical report submitted by the applicant, specifically Section 4.0, completely failed to discuss the impacts of disturbing the acid-producing Woodbury Formation on the water resource and other users of the water resource. This is a severe lack of due diligence, therefore I'm imploring that you deny this permit. Many of the proposed dewatering locations, including the box excavations at sites 11, 12, 15, and several trench excavations, penetrate through the Pennsauken Formation, referenced as Stratum 1, and into the Woodbury Formation, referenced as Stratum 2. The Woodbury Formation is a well-known acid-producing deposit in New Jersey. It consists of gray clay with finely dispersed pyrite or iron sulfide. In an undisturbed state, the Woodbury Formation is benign. However, if the soil is drained and excavated and exposed to air, as this dewatering and construction proposal intends, the iron sulfides react with oxygen to form sulfuric acid. The release of this sulfuric acid from the soil can in turn release iron, aluminum, and other heavy metals like arsenic within the soil. Once mobilized, the acid and metals can create a variety of negative impacts, including altering natural communities, killing vegetation, impacting water quality, compromising wetland ecology, reducing agricultural productivity due to metal-contaminated soils, thwarting the ability of homeowners to establish lawns and other vegetation, and degrading concrete and steel structures that are being built on this site. The technical report submitted by the applicant completely failed to address the impacts of disturbing the Woodbury Formation deposit, nor did it include any proposed dewatering mitigation plans for the acid-forming soils found in the site. The application did not address how they plan to control surface or groundwater that will mix with the acid-producing formation. The proposed diversion is neither just nor equitable to other users of the water resource, specifically residents, farmers, and wildlife, because there are adverse impacts to the quality of surface water, groundwater, and the agricultural water supply. The surrounding land and receiving waters will be negatively impacted by the acid leaching. The lack of any mention in this application is a severe lack of due diligence. Therefore, again, I am imploring that you deny this permit. Thank you.
My name is Jean Kovac, that's Jean Kovath. I live on the proposed route of the SRL, and one of my main concerns after safety in general is the impact this project will have on the water supply of this entire area, the pinelands, and on my private well. Under NJDEP Rule 71923D, which we've heard much of, in order for this permit to be approved, Transco must show that they have considered the effects of the project on other, quote, other users of the water source. That means all of us, which includes all users of the aquifer disturbed by the dewatering. How has Transco proved to this body and to us that the dewatering surrounding the compressor station will not affect our aquifer? Number one, has there been compelling scientific evidence provided to you that guarantees this dewatering and relocation of millions of gallons of water from the wetlands in Chesterfield will have no adverse impact on the aquifer that provide the sole water source for hundreds of homes? Two, do you have absolute proof that both the extraction and relocation of the water will not change the ecosystem that helps to purify our waters? Number three, have the soils both surrounding the compressor station and the soils of the lands to be flooded been thoroughly tested for all possible contaminants in order to guarantee dangerous chemicals will not be released into our water supply? Have the wells within the quarter, I have 35 wells. I mean, that number's been changed all night long, from none to 20 to now 35 wells within the quarter-mile radius of the dewatering activity been pre-tested. Do you know whether what you're dealing with now to begin with? Has Transco indicated where the water will be moved to and how it will impact those lands? And has Transco given sufficient study to the potential effects of the wells and septic systems within the quarter mile from the dewatering and relocation activity? And finally, how did Transco determine where the water table will be on those wetlands for the duration of the dewatering when our soils are so affected by the weather? Did you perform an annual analysis of water table conditions for both the dewatering site and the receiving site? In considering this permit, New Jersey DEP must consider the cumulative effects of both the dewatering and the construction of the Southern Reliability Link, which is only possible if the compressor station is built. The SRL is a 30-mile high-pressure transmission gas line that will be constructed along sensitive wetlands across many streams and creeks adjacent to preserved farms that, I see the yellow light is on, so I'm going to just jump ahead. What I want to point out is there's no easy fixes for ruining the water supply in our area. There's no public water source that we can get. There's no water available to us. We can only use private wells. I believe the DEP is responsible for the health and safety of our environment. Right now, our wetlands and streams and private wells need your protection. Has Transco and NJNG proved that there will be no negative impact to the waters of New Jersey? No negative impact to the existing wildlife living in the wetlands surrounding the compressor station? How are they protecting us? What is the threshold of disruption? I just have one more sentence then. This past several weeks, New York, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Kentucky have stopped major natural gas infrastructure projects, including compressor stations and transmission pipelines, from being built in their states. All natural gas infrastructure proposals have the same stated purpose, reliability and resiliency. The 4 states mentioned have determined the health and safety risks of these projects are greater than the need for reliability and resiliency. And we ask that New Jersey do the same.
Linda Frazee? Hi, Linda Freese, F-R-E-S-E. I'm a Chesterfield Township resident, and I wanted to say I do agree with all the previous testimony. The New Jersey Turnpike construction has already permanently lowered the groundwater table during their 6 to 9 widening project, and there's already been acres of woodland adjacent to the project in this area that has been clear cut due to the Trenton-Woodbury expansion project. So I hope you take that into consideration as well. The groundwater is already said to be contaminated, and we had to pay for the extra feet of drilling to reach the deeper aquifer for our well. When the second water table or aquifer, whatever it's referred to, when that becomes polluted due to the activities of the turnpike, the compressor station, and the pipelines, who will provide the residents of Chesterfield Township, Bordentown Township, and all the other residents that use this aquifer an adequate supply of water for our children, for our grandchildren, and future New Jersey residents? And of the 21, or however many there is, wells within the quarter mile, did they include 11 Bordentown Chesterfield Road? Because we've always been omitted from the as an existing residence for both the Turnpike widening project and the Transco Trenton-Woodbury expansion. Our residence just didn't exist. So we were never included as a residence, and so we're probably not included as a well in this plan. Also, the Turnpike Authority, this project is directly adjacent to the New Jersey Turnpike. The Turnpike Authority still has not corrected the runoff and drainage issues from the Route 528 road relocation for the widening project. So how can we expect Transco and New Jersey National Gas to comply with DEP requirements for restoring the surrounding properties? And were all the wells that were located at the dozen or more residences that were acquired by the New Jersey Turnpike, which were subsequently sold to Transco, were all those wells sealed properly? And one of these abandoned wells is already on the existing property in this project. Is the DEP taking into consideration both projects combined? Because the Garden State expansion and the SRL are both one project. And this entire project location, are they including the substation, electrical substation? Because that is all one and the same project. And thank you. Fairfax Cutter.
Hello, Fairfax Hutter of Lawrenceville, New Jersey. I first of all want to second the comments of Kenny Kronheim and others with respect to avoidance and following the regulations and the like. There have been very, very many good comments made. I just wanted to say that I feel strongly that the overall process needs to change. This isn't necessarily DEP's process, but the whole FERC process and pipeline process. Well, these companies pursue a divide and conquer strategy. So it's premature to look at each project in a vacuum, piecemeal, and conditionally, before all the data is in and correct, and to look at projects out of order. It is time to look at these projects as a whole. We know the Garden State Expansion Link, Southern Reliability Link, and Penn East. We know New Jersey Natural Gas has been at the Penn East helm from the very beginning. You should not be approving any projects and saddling citizens with the costs until you know whether the source is justified and viable. The Penn East start is one of its most problematic elements. It cannot go under the Susquehanna River, near where it starts, because the Wyoming Valley is a honeycomb of abandoned coal mines that are now flooded with acid mine drainage. Penn East now proposes to open trench and dam half the mighty Susquehanna. FERC and all these other projects should be looking about the ability to even get this underway without committing people and communities downstream to all the consequences. Penn East has provided no geologic test in 20 months that's showing that they can do this safely without puncturing the roof of the mines. And the Susquehanna did break in 1959, drowning 12 miners, and also proving that they will not be releasing acid mine drainage into the Susquehanna, whose ultimate destination is Chesapeake Bay, or releasing PCBs, which we know are in the Susquehanna from the upstream nearby Lackawanna. And people saw the consequences in Colorado last summer when the Animas mine drainage when the gold mine, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but the mine polluted the Animas River and turned it orange. We have certain kind of consequences like that really need to be determined before any of the ensuing and connected projects are considered, examined, and approved. So please do not put the compressor before the pipes. Thank you very much.
The next three people, Sam Canizaro. I'm going to spell the next person's name. Srinivas, Kotamrajv, and Jerome Branikowski. Those three speakers, please. Starting with Sam. Sam here. Sam Canizaro here. Okay. Is Srinivas, Kotamrajv here? Or not? Okay. Jerome Baranowski. Jerome here, please.
Jerome Baranowski. Really?
No? Okay. Denise Garner. Is Denise Garner here? Okay. Is Virginia Monson here? Virginia? Okay.
Virginia, that's up there. Thank you, Jim.
Followed by Rachel Leone and Andrea Bonet. Please.
Ready? Thank you. I am Stephen Monson, M-O-N-S-O-N, Stephen with a P-H. I'm appearing for my wife, Virginia. We live in Bordentown on Winding Brook Road. By way of background, we lived near the Edison explosion site in the mid-'80s. Fortunately, nobody was killed that day because they were all at work. But had it happened at night, the death toll would have been astronomical. But you also have to be taken into consideration that the blast zone, and that was just from the pipeline, which is not a 30-inch pipeline. Went out at least a mile. People's windows were shattered. There was substantial damage. This compressor station has, well, they call it a blast zone, but perhaps you ought to realize it's a death zone, a kill zone, because of the amount of gas and pressure that will be flowing through it. And when it goes, not if, when it goes, as has been decided, shown here tonight, the turnpike will be destroyed. Well over several thousand homes will be destroyed, along with the people in them. And there will be major disruption throughout the New Jersey corridor. Now, how is this related to water? Now, it's very nice that you all decided you would have this public hearing on dewatering, segmenting. Well, we all understand the sham that you are trying to put over on us, and that Transfer Williams is trying to put over on us. You've been very politely sitting there stone-faced. The impression we all have is your mind's made up, don't confuse us with the facts. Let's face it, this whole project will destroy this area. Without water, water is the basis of this planet. You want to mess with the water, which is your responsibility, yours, and yours alone. You want to mess with the water, you are messing with everybody and everything. You poison the water, people can't live. You poison the water, no food. You poison the water, no wildlife, no fish, no nothing. So you have to take cognizance of that. If you're not, then you are doing something seriously wrong. Finally, don't forget that there are lands that have been purchased with money provided, by the way, by your entity. Because our Constitution has been amended several times to allow for wetlands to be set aside. So now you're going to take the money that you set aside to buy wetlands. What are you going to do? You're just going to give it away. Not right. That's probably unconstitutional. I hope Mr. Harrison will bring that up in the lawsuit. Thank you very much.
Rachel Leona. Andrea Burnett. And after Andrea, it's Don Sheridan, Lori Thayer, and Chris Barge. Apologize. Go ahead.
Andrea Burnett, A-N-D-R-E-A, B as in boy, O-N as in Nellie, E-T-T-E. I actually live in Hunterdon County, and so we've been very involved with the Penn East aspect of this, which has been mentioned many times tonight. And I would just like to comment that this project, this compressor station, should certainly not be built or approved based on misplaced confidence that Penn East pipeline is a going Jesse and is going to contribute to it. As sure as God made little green apples, Penn East is not going to happen. It's already been opposed by thousands of residents. Every New Jersey elected municipal, state, and county official opposes it. And New Jersey already has 43% more natural gas than it needs, according to the studies I have seen. Secondly, I would like to talk about credibility. We start with FERC, which we have a great deal of experience with in Hunterdon County. They have never refused a pipeline, to the best of my knowledge, and the group that they hired to do their environmental impact statement, which I realize is different from an environmental assessment, is called Tetra Tech. And Tetra Tech is a member of the Marcellus Shale Coalition, and so they're all gas people. Well, what do you think they're going to say? Of course there is no problem anywhere. Then we have Transco's credibility. I don't know if any of you were at the hearing in Montgomery Township a couple of months ago. Transco got permission to do a lot of stream drilling under streams in the Princeton Ridge. And then they discovered, ta-da, after they started the project, the Princeton Ridge has solid diabase granite under it, and their drills didn't work. So now they've already started and made this horrendous mess, which I will be happy to give anybody a tour of if you would like. And now they come before DEP and they're saying, oh, please, please let us cross the streams, just cross the streams. You know, what difference does it make? We already started. And the other thing that Transco does, as it does pennies, is they have these weasel words, which George Orwell referred to as good speak, like not expected to. Minimize is one of their favorites. Mitigate is another one. And contingency plan. So I'd just like to encourage everyone in this room to be aware of how slimy all these people are, and you cannot believe a single thing they say. Thank you.
S-H-E-R-I-D-A-N. I'm a resident of Chesterfield. As a mother, I think I speak on behalf, I'm a single mother, so I'm also a father. I think I speak on behalf of all mothers and fathers, grandmothers and grandfathers. When we have children, we do everything we can to protect them, and we do everything we can to protect our family. At the end of the day, I look in the mirror and I ask myself, have I done everything I can to protect my child and done what's right? Will you be able to, after you rubber stamp this like every other government agency has done, look in the mirror and say that? The reality is that you don't live here, and neither does Transco. The reality is they're not going to tell you. They're only going to tell you what they want to. They have lied left and right. They don't tell you about blowdowns. They sent children in Roseland, New Jersey. I spoke to the mayor, to the hospital from the fumes. That's something no parent wants to know. When a person calls you and says your child's in the hospital, panic sets in. We rush out of our jobs to go make sure our child is okay. At the end of the day, I don't want to go to work and wonder if my house is still standing. We have jokingly said New Jersey is the armpit state of the world. Well, no, we're about to become the corporate greed and pipeline state of the world. And that's not a situation I want to be a part of. Everyone said to me, why are you moving back to Chesterfield? There's nothing there. That's exactly what I like. It's a close-knit community and we help each other out. When I didn't live there, everyone looked out for my grandmother. And they still do. They always ask me. So as a mother, I'm going to protect my child at all costs. And one thing I've always told my son is, you're going to get in trouble if you lie, but you're in more trouble if you keep lying. So why don't you make Transco be held accountable and start admitting the truth about how deceptive they are, how thievery. I mean, we don't stand from this from our kids, and if you're parents, I'm sure your kids growing up, you wouldn't stand for lying. Why are you allowing them to bold-faced lie to you, and especially under oath?
Lori's here, 153 Chesterfield, Crosswicks Road, and my address, L-O-R-R-I-E, last name is T-H-I-E-R. My address should actually be very familiar to the DEP because about 10 years ago, we were experiencing a lot of growth in this town. And we wanted to try to not spend as much for a big, beautiful school and be able to build on the lot where the old school was. But the DEP came in and protecting the environment and protecting our water did not allow for water or sewer to run down my road. I have sewer, I have a well, and I'm really close to where this pipeline is going to be going. I have 3 children, I have animals, and am surrounded by wetlands. I can't do anything on my property because of the wetlands. I don't understand how, as a taxpayer, I can't do anything with my property, but these people come in here and are able to destroy our lives. They have different information. They don't even correct the information. When we spoon feed them their deceptions, they don't go back and correct it. They don't go back and say, oh, wait a minute, there are these many wells. They still don't get accurate information. But we're allowing them to take over the lives of so many people. And, I don't understand why. So I'm hoping that you guys will not rubber stamp this, will not give this the green light, until they start providing accurate information that you can analyze and make sure that it is in the best interest of the environment, of the water, and of the people that is going to affect in these communities, because this is not needed for anything other than making sure that their pockets are lined. Thank you.
I'm going to spell the last name of this person. I'm having a hard time with the handwriting. Harris, I think. B-H-A-R-S-A. Is that anyone? Okay. Jeff Richter.
Right now?
Are you Jeff?
I'm Jeff.
Has my 3 minutes started yet already? Does that include the walkout? All right. Jeff Richter, G-E-O-F-F-R-I-C-H-T-E-R. I'm the outreach manager of Highlands Preservation Alliance. Just wanted to make a couple quick points, not necessarily about the compressor station. That's not necessarily within our purview, but the company that relies upon the compressor station, New Jersey Natural Gas, they have violated the public trust. Couple small points. We've recovered documents and statements going back to 2013 of financial analyst meetings, as well as financial analyst reports that show that actually written out in the purpose and the need for the Southern Reliability Link, the pipeline that you're connecting to the compressor station, one of the purposes for that was to support growth in Ocean County over the long term. They then testified to the BPU that the only reason for the Southern Reliability Link was to provide resiliency to the system. The volume of gas that is being contracted to go through the Southern Reliability Link, through the Transco compressor station, suggests otherwise. Something smells off on that. Okay, so that's one point. The second point is that it violates the comprehensive management plan of the Pinelands. The base, so basically the reason that, you know, the waiver that would allow for the pipeline to go through the Pinelands in the areas that it does would have to be based on some sort of need by the joint base. A 2014 internal Air Force report showed that the base had absolutely no need in the present or in the foreseeable future of updating or increasing its natural gas service. In fact, we did Oprah and FOIA requests that found that New Jersey Natural Gas was actually fishing and going to members of the base and asking them, hey, do you think some of your buildings might, in the foreseeable future, need some natural gas, something like that. So they were going around and trying to create a narrative around which they could say that the base needed gas. Oh, and then, you know, in their actual application, there's nothing in there showing any kind of interconnect into the base. So where's the need? What is the pipeline serving? So this is the project, right? This is the project that is necessarily connected with the compressor station, with this dewatering permit. So by allowing for this process to go through, you're essentially allowing an incredibly flawed and devious company and process to go along with its activities. And then the third point, again, we're coming back to it's fossil fuel infrastructure. We have to deal with climate change. I realize I'll be quick. So the state's energy master plan is flawed. It basically is trying to take away coal and allow for new natural gas infrastructure, natural gas power plants to be incorporated. That is based on industry science and industry science that's actually quite old. Within the past few years, we've been seeing that the scientific consensus, obviously, that climate change is real and man-made, and in fact, the impacts are looking much, much sooner and much more dire
Methane leakage is severely, and this is the point. Methane leakage from the system, from production all the way to consumption, has been widely underreported for years, going back to 2003. The main piece of equipment...
Your time is up.
I realize that. The main piece of equipment for actually measuring methane leakage has been shown to only underestimate how much leakage is there, with an average of 30%. Okay? And so when we're talking about methane, we're talking about something that within a 5-year time period...
Your time is up.
Right. So within a 5-year time period is 100 times more heat trapping than carbon dioxide. We talk a lot about carbon dioxide, and that's the problem. Okay? Within a 20-year time period, it is 84 times more powerful of a carbon dioxide equivalent. Within 100 years, it goes down to only 34 times more heat trapping than carbon dioxide. This is what we're dealing with. Thank you.
Whose names I called before that either they stepped out or left. I'm just in the hope that they are still here. I'm going to call their names. Sam Canizari, are you here? Okay. Let's see, Jerome Baranowski. No. Denise Garner. Rachel Leone. Harris, Bharsa. Jamie Zakari. Garrett. Steve Benowitz. Tim Serpico.
He's a whistleblower, I'll take it.
And SRINIVAS KOTAMRAJV. No? Was there anyone else that wanted to speak? If so, if you could just sign in right now. Otherwise, this is the end of our testimony. In closing, I want to thank you all. Yes, sir. Please sign in.
Do you take second rounds?
No.
Applicant had 7.5 minutes.
Sir, if you want, can you bring the paper up? Sign it. Go ahead, sir.
So I guess it's just in Anastasios Giovanis.
Say your name and spell it, please, for the record.
Anastasios Giovanis.
Spell it, please.
ANASTASIOS.
Well, the stenographer is
ANASTASIOS. Last name is GEI. Bizub Victor, ELIS.
Thank you.
It's more of a question now. Being here all evening, hearing all the concern, questions, and issues being raised. What is the next step of the protocol that you guys, as the DEP, representing the people and all the statements given tonight, what happens next? What is the protocol that happens next?
We'll have closing statements, sir.
Closing statements.
James Marcel.
My name's James Marsala, James-Marsala. My sister Agnes has been very vocal in this, and one thing I want to say that is more of a cautionary tale for the DEP. All right, you have to take into consideration that there's a presidential election coming right now, and the DEP's on the chopping block for a whole bunch of people for a whole bunch of reasons. So, and I'm not trying to be ignorant to use, but the truth of the matter is, if you don't become of use, you will be gotten rid of. And that's just the way it's going to go. The Republican side is basically looking to completely eliminate this. So there's a lot of Democratic people in this community that care about things and care about their homes. So maybe you should think about them when you're making these decisions. Because this is our home. Just like your job is your job and your home is your home. This is where we live. So just remember that you guys all tie in with us the same as we tie in with you.
Yes, hi, I'm Cindy Bennett, B-E-N-N-E-T-T. I've grown up in Chesterfield since 1963. I'm not a farmer, but I've grown up around farmers, and I realize how important water is to them and for them to have their livelihood. I see them struggle every year, and we're trying to work along with the weather and what's going on, and needing lakes and streams to irrigate when we have drought times. I just want to say that I appreciate you guys listening to us, and I'm begging you to please help us. I'm so frustrated with our government and with what's going on. All these agencies that I thought were out there to protect our environment and to protect us, I just feel like they failed and they don't care. And I'm just praying that you guys care enough about our community and all the communities that surround us. This has already affected us in just, you want to talk about money, I'm sure it's affecting every township that's fighting it with lawyers' fees and everything that come down with taxes from us. That's already affecting us. And I can't imagine what it will do if it happens to the children of the future in this area, that I've been able to enjoy this area, fishing, checking out frogs and whatever else I've done growing up. I would hate to see the children of this area be robbed of that. So anything you can do, I would greatly appreciate. And I just want to say where the compressor station is every spring, when I drive over that overpass where the turnpike is, I roll down my windows and hear the first signs of spring. There's so much sound coming from that particular area, and I live out near streams and everything, but the sound is just amazing there. So on your way out, roll down your windows and listen to the sound, because if this happens, it might not be there. Thank you for anything you can do.
Hello everyone, my name is Craig DiGiovanna. Craig, D-I-G-I-O-V-A-N-N-A. I live in Bordentown in Clifton Mills, Winding Brook Road. And the reason I came, I wanted to learn more about the issues. You know, I've gotten information out of the mail, and I'm glad I came, because all these people showing up tonight showed me that, you know, this is a serious issue. And I've been living in this neighborhood for 13 years. And I have a young kid, I have an 8-year-old, I have a 3.5-year-old, you know. And I think about them, you know, and it's like, I think about them playing soccer on the weekends. I think about them doing things. I think about how my life would change if everything came about. My wife has told me, I don't want to live here anymore, this isn't going to happen. And I like this area. I don't want to be driven out of this area, you know what I mean? And all I have to say is I just want to be on record that, you know, I don't know a lot about deep into the issues that everybody was bringing up, but I'm glad that I came here, because now I have a great understanding of what's going on, you know, and I think if so many people show up like this, there's got to be a reason why, you know what I mean? So, you know, let's hope everybody hears what they need to hear, and everybody makes the right decision. Thank you.
My name is Cindy Bloom Cronin, Bloom, B-L-O-O-M, Cronin, C-R-O-N-I-N. Live at 31 Chesterfield, Georgetown Road, but we also have property right between where Nicole lives and where Linda Freeze lives. And I appreciate everybody else bringing up their comments tonight. I'm sure that Flint, Michigan also had a public hearing before all their problems occurred. And I would just like to state that if and when Nicole and Linda and I need water brought in to cook with, brush our teeth, take our showers, water our animals, and water our fields, that Flint or that somebody like Transco will bring in our water so that we can have clear water to drink with and do all of our necessities. So thank you for seeing us tonight and listening to all our comments. But I hope you do help us out. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for being here tonight, for sharing with us your thoughts, your concerns, and providing us with very good and helpful information. Based on the testimony we received tonight and the public interest in this application, it's been determined that the hearing record should remain open until May 17th, 2016. We'd like a copy of the transcript of this hearing. We ask that you please contact the stenographer and recording company. Do we have your information? Okay. A copy of the permit application and the addendum, the draft permit, and the staff report are available on the DEP website. You can find it by going to our DEP main page and then looking for the Division of Water and Geoscience. And that information, the link is there with all of that information. Our hearing is now closed. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Stay strong.